We live in a time where everything is shared. Your breakfast, your heartbreak, your success at work, even your struggles with sleep. Nothing seems to remain private anymore. Social media has turned our lives into a stage where we perform, often without realizing it. But here's the paradox. The people who are truly intelligent, the ones who move with depth and intentionality, they resist this impulse. They hold something back. And this is not because they are cold or because they lack the courage to express themselves. No. It is because they understand something that many overlook. Not everything is meant to be said. Not every thought is meant to be spoken. And not every truth is meant to be displayed. There is wisdom in discretion. When you sit with people who are truly intelligent, not just book smart, but emotionally perceptive, grounded, self-aware, you notice a certain calm about them. They don't rush to answer every question. They don't need to fill silence with noise. They know that restraint is not a lack, but a strength. Their silence often carries more meaning than someone else's words. I've seen it in couples, in leaders, in friends who understand life at a deeper level. The ones who don't reveal everything. These are the people you lean into, the people you want to know more about, because mystery draws us closer. So today, let's explore why intelligent people keep 3 essential secrets to themselves. Secrets not born of fear, but of wisdom. Secrets that protect their peace, their vision, and their power. Because intelligence is not about how loudly you speak. It is about how wisely you choose your words, and sometimes, about the words you never say. There is something profoundly human about wanting to be understood. We think, we imagine, we dream. And very quickly, we want to put those thoughts into words, into conversation, into the ears of others. It is as if our ideas don't feel real until we share them. But intelligent people, the ones who understand the subtle rhythms of growth, often resist that urge. They know that not every thought is ready for the world. They treat their thoughts like seeds. A seed has potential, but if you pull it out of the soil too soon, it dies. In the same way, if you expose an idea before it has time to grow roots, it can wither under the weight of doubt, criticism, or even indifference. Think of the times you've had a fragile but exciting idea, something you felt in your bones was worth pursuing. You told a friend, maybe a colleague, perhaps even a family member. And instead of encouragement, you were met with skepticism. That's unrealistic. That's too risky. Are you sure you can do that? Suddenly, the idea that was alive within you felt smaller, weaker. You began to second guess yourself. And little by little, what could have become something beautiful never got the chance to flourish. Intelligent people learn from this. They protect their inner world. They don't rush to announce their every thought, because they know how fragile beginnings can be. It's not secrecy, it's stewardship. They give their ideas the privacy of incubation, the time to unfold in silence, away from the noise of judgment. And in that silence, the seed takes root, grows stronger, becomes resilient. By the time they share it with the world, it is no longer a fragile dream, but a grounded reality. I often think about this in relationships too. Sometimes we speak our thoughts as soon as they appear unfiltered, unpolished. But intelligent people understand that words carry consequences. A thought spoken in haste can cut deeper than intended. A half-formed opinion can close doors that silence might have kept open. They recognize the discipline of waiting, of thinking twice before putting something into the air. Because once spoken, words cannot be unsaid. There is also power in mystery. When you don't reveal everything you think, you create space for others to wonder, to engage, to be curious. Silence draws people in. It builds intrigue. Intelligent people are not driven by the need to prove how much they know. They are guided by the wisdom of when to speak and when to stay silent. And that choice is not about withholding. It is about honoring the creative process. Our culture often tells us that speed is everything. Publish fast, post quickly, react instantly. But wisdom doesn't rush. It sits, it breathes, it allows thoughts to ripen. Intelligent people carry this awareness. A thought is not always a gift you give others. Sometimes, it is a responsibility you must nurture privately until it is strong enough to stand on its own. So the next time you feel the urge to share every spark that lights up in your mind, pause. Ask yourself, does this seed need more time in the soil? Does this idea need more silence, more care, more protection before I expose it to the world? Because the most intelligent people know. Not every seed should be planted in the public garden. Some are meant to grow quietly until they are strong enough to bear fruit. We often grow up with the belief that honesty means saying everything we feel. That if you are authentic, you must express every emotion in real time, without filter. But intelligent people know there is a difference between honesty and impulsivity. They understand that emotions are real, yes, but not every emotion deserves an audience. Think about it. Our emotional landscape is like the weather. It changes quickly, sometimes in ways that surprise even us. A frustration in the morning can fade by afternoon. A sadness you felt yesterday might feel lighter today. But if you express every passing emotion without reflection, you risk turning momentary weather into permanent damage. Intelligent people grasp this. They recognize that just because they feel anger doesn't mean they need to unleash it. Just because they feel doubt doesn't mean they must broadcast it. They pause, they reflect, and they ask, does this feeling need to be shared, or does it need to be processed privately? I have seen it in relationships over and over. A partner speaks every irritation, every insecurity, every complaint as soon as it arises, believing that full transparency is the path to closeness. But what often happens? The other person becomes defensive, overwhelmed, maybe even resentful. The relationship begins to feel like an emotional dumping ground. Money. Contrast this with those who know how to hold space for their own emotions first. They sit with their anger before turning it into words. They process their disappointment before making it someone else's responsibility. When they do decide to share, it is no longer raw and chaotic. It is thoughtful, grounded, and constructive. This difference changes everything. it doesn't mean intelligent people suppress their emotions. Suppression is denial. Discernment is wisdom. They don't bury what they feel, but they don't spill it recklessly either. They know the difference between a feeling that needs to be expressed and a feeling that simply needs to pass. Sometimes what you need is not an audience, but a moment of silence, a walk outside, a journal page where the emotion can breathe safely without causing harm. Another layer is dignity. Intelligent people understand that exposing every emotion can make you vulnerable in ways that are not always safe. In professional settings, for example, showing unchecked anger or deep insecurity can shift how others perceive you. In friendships, oversharing every sadness can exhaust the connection. They recognize that emotions are sacred and not everyone deserves access to them. To choose who gets to witness your inner world is an act of self-respect, not secrecy. And there is power in timing. An emotion expressed too soon can explode. Expressed too late, it can wither into resentment. But an emotion shared at the right moment, with the right words, has the potential to heal, to deepen intimacy, to create connection instead of conflict. Intelligent people cultivate this timing. They understand that maturity is not about always speaking your truth in the heat of the moment, but about knowing when your truth is ready to be heard. When we think of emotional intelligence, we often think of empathy and compassion. But it is also about discernment, choosing which emotions to reveal, to whom, and how. Intelligent people are selective, not because they are guarded, but because they know that emotions, once spoken, cannot be taken back. They value the impact of their words more than the temporary relief of release. We live in a culture that rewards visibility. Achievements are not only celebrated, but often measured by how quickly they can be shared, how many likes they receive, how loudly they echo. The world tells us, if you did something great and no one knows about it, did it even happen? But intelligent people resist this pull. They understand that success is not validated by applause, but by meaning. They don't feel the need to broadcast every victory, because validation is not their compass. There is a quiet confidence in people who accomplish something and keep it close to their chest. It is not secrecy, it is sovereignty. They know that once success is shared, it is no longer fully theirs. It becomes subject to interpretation, envy, comparison, even dismissal. Intelligent people protect their joy by savoring it privately, at least for a while, before handing it over to the scrutiny of the world. I've seen this often with entrepreneurs, artists, even couples who choose to celebrate milestones quietly before announcing them. They understand that success is most nourishing when it is experienced, not performed. When you achieve something meaningful, you don't need a standing ovation to validate it. You need to feel it in your bones. You need to let the accomplishment integrate into your sense of self. Intelligent people honor that process. There is also the matter of energy. Sharing success publicly often invites both admiration and expectation. The moment you announce a win, people begin to ask, what's next? Can you do it again? Are you as good as your last achievement? Suddenly, The joy of the moment is overshadowed by pressure. Intelligent people sidestep this trap by allowing themselves the freedom to succeed quietly, without the burden of performance. They measure their progress not by external applause, but by internal alignment. Did this matter to me? Did this growth reflect who I want to become? In relationships, too, this restraint is telling. Some people boast about their partner, their children, their lifestyle, as if the value of love or family lies in how others perceive it. Intelligent people, however, know that the deepest satisfactions are often invisible to the outside eye. They don't need to display their love to prove it exists. They live it, they feel it, and that is enough. This is not to say they never share their success, but when they do, it is intentional. They choose the right people, the ones who will celebrate without envy, who will encourage without comparison, who will hold space without judgment. They understand that not everyone deserves access to their joy, because not everyone knows how to honor it. And then there is humility. Intelligent people know that success is fragile. Today's victory can become tomorrow's challenge. They remain grounded, aware that sharing too much can create unnecessary noise. Even distance them from those who may not be in a season of success themselves. By holding back, they cultivate gratitude instead of arrogance, humility instead of pride. Perhaps most importantly, intelligent people are not driven by the fear of being unseen. They are comfortable in the shadows because they know that meaning does not depend on visibility. Success is not a performance, it is a practice. And so, money. They resist the temptation of external validation, trusting instead in the quiet satisfaction that comes from knowing they have created, grown, achieved. Whether or not the world applauds, there is a popular idea today that vulnerability is the highest form of strength. And in many ways, it is true. To show yourself honestly, to reveal your fears, your wounds, your insecurities, that requires courage. But what is often misunderstood is that vulnerability is not about exposing yourself to everyone at all times. Intelligent people know this distinction well. They guard their vulnerabilities, not because they are ashamed of them, but because they understand the weight of disclosure. Vulnerability is sacred. It is like a key. In the right hands, it unlocks intimacy, trust, connection. In the wrong hands, it becomes a weapon. Think of the times you've confided in someone who was not ready to hold your truth. Perhaps they judged you. Perhaps they used it against you. Perhaps they simply dismissed it, leaving you feeling more alone than before. Intelligent people learn from these experiences. They realize that to reveal your vulnerabilities indiscriminately is not strength. It is recklessness. Strength lies in discernment, in choosing carefully who has earned the right to see you in your tender places. I see this often in couples therapy. One partner will say, "I've been open, I've told them everything. Why doesn't it bring us closer?" But intimacy is not created by exposure alone. It is created by trust, and trust is built over time. Intelligent people are attuned to this rhythm. They reveal themselves gradually, testing, sensing, observing how the other person responds. They know that trust is not demanded. It is earned, moment by moment, gesture by gesture. Vulnerability without trust is simply exposure, and exposure without safety is dangerous. Guarding vulnerabilities is also a form of self-respect. Intelligent people recognize that they are not defined by their wounds. To constantly showcase your struggles can trap you in them, as if pain is the only story you have to tell. They prefer to carry their struggles with dignity, to process them inwardly or with trusted confidence, rather than putting them on display for the validation of sympathy. There is power in saying, "I know my tender places, but I choose who gets access to them." It is important to understand that this guarding is not the same as closing off. Intelligent people are not unreachable. They are simply measured. They know that the intimacy thrives on boundaries as much as on openness. When they share their vulnerabilities, it is intentional, meaningful, and with someone who has proven worthy of holding them. That is why their relationships often feel deeper, safer, more authentic. Because when they finally reveal themselves, it is not noise, it is truth offered with trust. And then there is the question of timing. Sometimes, you are not ready to share a vulnerability, even with someone you love. Intelligent people give themselves permission to wait. They resist the pressure to disclose everything in the name of honesty. They understand that honesty is not about dumping your pain as soon as you feel it. It is about sharing it when it can be understood, when it can be received, when it can be held in a way that heals, rather than harms. We live in a culture that often confuses oversharing with authenticity. But intelligent people know that wisdom lies in balance. To guard your vulnerabilities is not to hide. It is to honor them. It is to protect your tender self until the moment and the person are right. And when that moment comes, their vulnerability does not weaken them. It deepens connection because it has been given with care, not thrown carelessly into the air. There is something magnetic about a person who is not fully known. You meet them, you talk with them, and you sense there is more beneath the surface. They are not hiding, but they are not completely revealed either. And that mystery draws you closer. Intelligent people understand this. They know that mystery is not a game, not manipulation. It is power. It is the power of holding something back, of not being fully available, of allowing curiosity to live. We live in a culture that craves immediacy. Everything is at our fingertips. Information, images, even intimacy. The idea is, if I want to know, I should know now. If I want access, I should have it instantly. But when everything is exposed, when nothing is left to wonder about, something essential is lost. Mystery is the oxygen of desire, of intrigue, of respect. Intelligent people guard this oxygen carefully. Think about the people you find most compelling. Chances are, they are not the ones who told you everything in the first 5 minutes. They are the ones who left space. They spoke enough to connect, but not enough to be fully known. They made you lean in. They invited you to stay curious. That is what mystery does. It creates a gap, and that gap is where fascination grows. Intelligent people cultivate this gap with intention. Mystery is also protection. The less people know about you, the less power they have over you. When you reveal everything, you give away not just your story, but your leverage. Intelligent people understand that silence can be as strategic as speech. By not laying all their cards on the table, they preserve autonomy. They keep a part of themselves that belongs only to them, untouched by the judgments, expectations, or manipulations of others. That quiet reserve becomes their strength. But mystery is not only about withholding, it is also about pacing. Intelligent people know that depth takes time. In relationships, they don't reveal everything at once. They allow intimacy to unfold gradually, layer by layer. This pacing creates anticipation. It builds trust. It transforms connection into a journey rather than a transaction. Mystery, in this sense, is the art of storytelling. You don't give away the ending in the first chapter. There is also beauty in ambiguity. Not every question needs an immediate answer. Not every detail needs to be explained. Intelligent people are comfortable leaving things unsaid, allowing others to sit with the unknown. Because in that unknown, imagination begins to work. People fill in the gaps with curiosity, sometimes even with admiration. Mystery doesn't repel, it invites. It keeps relationships alive, work intriguing, conversations memorable. And yet, mystery is not about being cold or distant. Intelligent people don't use it to build walls. They use it to create space. Space for curiosity, for respect, for deeper connection. They know that if you reveal everything too quickly, you may be seen, but you may not be valued. What comes easily is often taken for granted. What takes time to uncover is cherished. Mystery ensures that what is discovered is appreciated. So, when intelligent people choose not to fully reveal themselves, it is not because they lack openness, but because they understand the rhythm of human connection. They know that what is hidden is often as important as what is revealed. They trust that leaving something to the imagination does not weaken intimacy. It strengthens it. Because in the end, mystery is not emptiness. Mystery is presence with depth. It is the quiet signal that there is always more to discover, more to learn, more to experience. And that, whether in relationships, in leadership, or in life, is the true power of intelligence. We live in a time where everything is shared. Your breakfast, your heartbreak, your latest achievement, even your struggles with sleep. Nothing seems to remain private anymore. Social media has turned our lives into an endless stage where we perform, often without realizing it. The question we ask ourselves is not simply, what do I feel? Or what do I think? But how will others see it if I share? And yet, when you meet people of depth, people whose intelligence is not just academic, but emotional, relational, intuitive, you notice something different. They are not rushing to reveal themselves. They are not performing their thoughts, their emotions, or their successes. There is a restraint about them, a discipline, a quiet knowing. And it is precisely this restraint that makes them compelling. Because intelligent people know that not everything is meant to be said. Not every thought is ready to be spoken, and not every truth is meant to be displayed. They understand that there is wisdom in discretion. So today, I want us to reflect together on why intelligent people keep certain secrets to themselves. Not out of fear, not out of shame, but out of wisdom, out of dignity, out of a deeper understanding of how intimacy, power, and meaning really work. The first truth is this: intelligent people don't reveal every thought, because thoughts are seeds, not finished trees. There is something profoundly human about wanting to be understood. We think, we imagine, we dream, and very quickly, we want to put those ideas into words, into conversation, into the ears of others. It is as if our thoughts don't feel real until they are spoken. But intelligent people resist that urge. They know that not every idea is ready for the world. They treat their thoughts like seeds. A seed carries enormous potential. But if you pull it out of the soil too soon, it dies. In the same way, if you expose an idea before it has time to take root, it can wither under the weight of judgment, criticism, or even indifference. Think about a time when you had a fragile but exciting idea, something that felt alive inside of you. You shared it, maybe too soon, with someone whose skepticism came faster than encouragement. And suddenly the spark dimmed, the dream shrank. The possibility you once saw so clearly now felt impossible. Intelligent people protect their seeds. They give their ideas time to grow in silence, away from the noise of judgment. They nurture them in the privacy of their own minds, or perhaps in the safe company of one or two trusted people, until the ideas are strong enough to stand on their own. By the time they reveal them, they are no longer fragile. They are rooted, resilient, ready. It is not secrecy, it is stewardship. It is the understanding that not everything that is born inside you must immediately be shared. Some things require quiet incubation, and that incubation is not weakness. It is strength. It is patience. It is wisdom. This brings us to the second truth. Intelligent people don't disclose every emotion, because not all emotions deserve an audience. We often confuse authenticity with impulsivity. We think that to be real, we must speak every emotion as it arises. But emotions are like the weather. They shift, they pass, they transform. To voice every irritation, every sadness, every doubt in the heat of the moment is not honesty. It is chaos. Intelligent people understand this. They pause. They reflect. They ask, does this feeling need to be spoken, or does it need to be processed privately? In relationships, we see the difference clearly. Some people voice every frustration the moment it appears. And what happens? The relationship becomes an emotional battleground, littered with half-formed accusations and raw feelings that cut too deeply. Others hold back everything, suppressing until resentment builds and distance grows. Intelligent people find a third way. They hold their emotions long enough to understand them. They speak them when they are ready to be heard, not simply when they are ready to be released. This discernment changes everything. Because an emotion shared too soon can explode. Shared too late, it can fester. Shared at the right time, with the right words, it can heal, deepen, connect. Intelligent people don't deny their emotions, but they don't broadcast them either. They practice the discipline of timing, And it's not only about timing, it's also about safety. Not everyone deserves access to your emotions. To reveal them recklessly is to hand people power over you. Intelligent people understand that emotions are sacred. They entrust them only to those who can hold them with care. That is not coldness, it is self-respect. Now, if thoughts and emotions are guarded, what about achievements? This brings us to the third truth. Intelligent people don't share every success because validation is not their compass. We live in a world obsessed with applause. Achievements are not only to be celebrated, but to be displayed, measured by likes, shares, and the envy of others. We have been taught that success is not real until it has been seen. But intelligent people resist this. Their compass is not applause, it is meaning. There is a quiet power in someone who achieves something significant and does not rush to announce it. Not because they are hiding it, but because they are savoring it. They know that once success is made public, it no longer belongs entirely to them. It becomes subject to judgment, envy, even pressure. The moment you share, the world asks, "What's next?" And suddenly, your joy is overshadowed by expectation. Intelligent people sidestep this. They measure their growth not by the noise it creates, but by the alignment it brings. Did this success matter to me? Did it bring me closer to the person I want to be? That is their compass. Not likes, not validation, but meaning. And when they do share, they are intentional. They choose the people who can celebrate without envy, who can honor their joy without comparison. They understand that not everyone deserves access to their victories, just as not everyone deserves access to their pain. There is humility in this. Intelligent people know success is fragile. Today's triumph can become tomorrow's challenge. They celebrate with gratitude, not arrogance, with presence, not performance. And this is what makes their success deeper, more sustainable, more human. The fourth truth follows naturally. Intelligent people guard their vulnerabilities, not out of shame, but out of wisdom. Vulnerability is powerful. It is the bridge to intimacy, the doorway to trust. But vulnerability in the wrong hands becomes a weapon. Intelligent people know this. They reveal themselves selectively, intentionally, to those who have earned the right to hold their tender places. This is not about hiding. It is about honoring. To reveal everything to everyone is not authenticity. It is recklessness. Intelligent people pace their vulnerability. They allow intimacy to unfold gradually as trust is built. They understand that exposure without safety is dangerous. Vulnerability without discernment is not strength. It is surrender. I see it in couples. One partner says, "I've told them everything. I've shown them all my wounds. Why doesn't it bring us closer?" Because intimacy is not created by exposure alone. It is created by trust. Trust takes time. Intelligent people give it that time. And by guarding their vulnerabilities, they protect their dignity. They refuse to be defined solely by their wounds. They know their struggles, but they also know their strengths. And so, when they finally share their vulnerability, it is not noise. It is truth offered with care, deepening connection rather than weakening it. Finally, The fifth truth: intelligent people understand that mystery is power. There is a magnetism in those who are not fully known. Not because they are hiding, but because they are holding something back. They leave space for curiosity. They invite you to lean in. Mystery is not manipulation. It is presence with depth. In a world obsessed with exposure, mystery becomes rare and therefore precious. Intelligent people know that when everything is revealed, nothing is valued. Mystery keeps desire alive. It keeps respect alive. It creates a sense of intrigue that makes relationships, conversations, and connections richer. Mystery is also protection. The less people know about you, the less control they have over you. Intelligent people preserve autonomy by holding something for themselves. They don't reveal every layer at once. They allow intimacy to unfold slowly, like a story told chapter by chapter. Because what comes too quickly is often taken for granted. What takes time is cherished. And so, mystery is not about building walls. It is about creating space. Space for curiosity. Space for respect. Space for depth. It is the quiet art of leaving something unsaid, trusting that in what is withheld, just as in what is revealed, lies your power. So, why do intelligent people keep these three secrets? Their thoughts, their emotions, their vulnerabilities to themselves, because they understand that silence is not emptiness. Silence is presence. Silence is power. They don't measure their worth by how much they reveal, but by how wisely they choose what to reveal, when, and to whom. In a culture of constant exposure, they remind us that intimacy is not about saying everything. It is about knowing what to say, when to say it, and with whom to share it. That is the quiet art of intelligence. Here's a conclusion and call. 2. Action in Esther Perel's reflective. Intimate style, designed to leave the audience both thoughtful and motivated. So perhaps the lesson is this: intelligence is not only measured in how much you know, but in how much you withhold. In the seeds you choose to protect, in the emotions you decide to process before you speak, in the successes you savor quietly, in the vulnerabilities you guard wisely, and in the mystery you allow to remain. We are living in a world that rewards immediacy, that praises constant exposure, that equates sharing with authenticity. But intelligent people know sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is not to share, to let silence hold its place, to let privacy become strength, to let curiosity, patience, and trust do their quiet work. So my invitation to you is this: the next time you feel the urge to reveal, pause. Ask yourself, does this need to be spoken now? Does it need to be shared at all? Who has earned the right to hear this part of me? Practice discretion as a form of self-respect. Practice silence as a form of power. Practice mystery as a form of intimacy. Because when you learn to hold back with intention, you will discover that what you do choose to reveal carries far more weight, far more truth, and far more impact. And maybe, just maybe, that is the essence of intelligence. Not the volume of what you say, but the wisdom of what you choose to keep.